We're going to be talking to dreamers about immigration, ethnic studies, and the way that people are fighting back around that. I want to bring to the airwaves Leo Esclamado, as well as Angel Barragan and Melina Abdullah. These are all folks that are on the front line of dealing with ethnic studies, on the front line of dealing with immigration in particular, and we welcome you all to the show. So, first of all, I want to Leo, welcome to the show. And why don't you tell us about this very innovative but very necessary pushback that folks like yourself and Angel, who's on the line, are taking to really move this discussion around immigration in particular forward.
Yes, David. Happy to be here. So I'm with an organization called TIGRA. We organize immigrants to practice economic power throughout the Bay. As we know, we've reached 2 million deportations under the Obama administration, and we were wondering what could we do locally in the Bay to really press the issue. And our dreamers kind of thought of this idea of this Standupstandin campaign.
Right, and who are dreamers, for people who don't know?
Yes, dreamers are undocumented youth who arrived here at a young age, where their parents had came into the country, and they've really spent their lives in the U.S. And they lived a normal lives until they found out that they didn't have status to participate in the American project or American life. Angel
Barragan, how are you, sir?
Hey, I'm good, man. What's up?
Good. You're a dreamer.
Yes, I am.
Talk a little bit about this, and I want to maybe jump off in asking you to speak on this with what Leo just mentioned, that under Obama, President Obama, 2 million people have been deported. And I think people hear that number and they don't really reflect on what that means. It's not just like 2 million people in isolation. It's 2 million families get disruptive. But you're in the middle of that storm. And so can you speak from your experience some things that we should know around this immigration battle?
Yeah. Well, first of all, my name is Angel Barragan. I'm actually graduating from college this semester in a double major in Latino Studies and Spanish. And they're having a lot of deportations. I mean, I know at least somebody in every family who knows somebody who's been deported, somebody who lost a loved one. And me in particular, that actually happened to me. My dad got deported my freshman year of college. It was really hard for us, and it's just really hard. People don't understand what it means to lose someone. I guess in my case particularly, so I've been here since I was 10 years old, and we tried to live like Americans, or as American as we could. And my freshman year of college, my dad got deported. We lost our house. We lost everything that we had. I ended up living in a one-bedroom home in my uncle's house with my entire family, my mom, my sister, my brother. And I still kept going to school. Everything got a little bit better. And I didn't really... I thought everything was getting better, and then it just hit me very recently. I'm graduating from college, and then one of the most important persons in my life, my father, is not going to be around to see me accomplish this. And I'm not the only one that's facing this. There are people who are graduating from high school, and not just dreamers, actually, just people who lost loved ones in general, who are not going to have their important family members there with them.
What do you say to people that say, well, your dad shouldn't have broke the law? And that's usually the knee-jerk response, and that's the narrative that often gets carried in discussions around what sort of laws and reforms and what have you should be made. How do we parse that out?
It's not about breaking the law. It's about people searching for a better life, and that's what America's all about. People trying to better themselves in general. I mean, and that's all my family was trying to do. They weren't thinking about breaking the law. They were thinking about bettering their economic status and their life status in general, and not just for themselves, but for us.
Right. Leo, let me ask you, with the work that you're doing, can you speak to the type of victories that are being had? And who are main obstacles, or what are main obstacles for achieving what would be some of the ultimate goals? And what are those ultimate goals?
Yes, I mean, like, I think, one of the main victories is, really giving up for the Dreamers. They've been kind of one of the loudest, most grassroots, organized voices in the movement, whether or not they're pursuing, a political advocacy to direct action efforts. So right now we have this campaign called Standupstandin, where Dreamers, just around the corner, high school graduations and college graduations are going to be happening to make a statement during graduation. We're looking for people to stand in for loved ones who can't be with them during that special day, and for people to for other immigrant youth to stand up during that time.
When you say stand in, what do you mean? How does that look?
So a stand in is a volunteer, can be a supporter of a immigrant youth or a dreamer who can be with them at the graduation to support them. We have, we're trying to make kind of custom-made stoles to make a statement at all these college graduations starting in Cal, and then hopefully, making a statement in Stanford, SF State, and San Jose State. When you say
custom-made stalls, am I showing up with a sign if I want to do this, or?
Yeah, it's we're really want to make it nice, like a, hot fuchsia pink, because that's really, no school color, but kind of makes the statement and, gets kind of the conversation for everyone to participate. So we're looking for as many volunteers as we can. And, one of the victories really that ultimately we're fighting for is, the 11 million undocumented families, just, to be reunited, to be, just to be able to participate in the life, whether or not, someone grants them status or not. We're looking for dignity and respect,
Right. Angel, is there anything that you would add to this?
No, he pretty much said everything that I wanted to say. I just want to say that any dreamer who's listening or anybody who lost a loved one, just be in support, spread the word, and help us out if you can. Be a stand-up. So be one of the people graduating if you can, or if you feel like this is important, just be a volunteer, help us out. Or I think we have a website called standupstandin.com, and just come by and get some more information about it.
I want to bring in our third guest, who's on the phone line, Melina Abdullah. Melina, are you there?
I'm here.
Welcome to the show. She is down in Southern Cal and a dynamic speaker and somebody who fights. She's a professor. But somebody who is in the middle of another fight, which I think is very much related to what we're talking about, and that's the battle to keep ethnic studies alive. If you're just tuning in, we heard Angel talk about this is, you're majoring in the type of coursework that we now have powerful forces all over the country trying to eliminate. And, to me, one of the beauties of ethnic studies is that we actually get to learn why people would even immigrate. So instead of making the tired old excuse of, well, they broke the law, we get to understand, no, we're looking for a better way of life, and we're able to connect social and political situations together and get a more well-rounded understanding of why people do what they do. Melina, can you talk about the battles that are going on? Because the school that you're at down there in Los Angeles, there are already these pushbacks to eliminate ethnic studies, not make them a requirement. People want to privatize and defund and make the case that this is not a necessary part of people's education when you have, at least in California, majority-minority state.
Right, and we're actually on a campus that's more than 90% students of color. So I think that the struggle for ethnic studies is really about kind of this educational imperialism, right? This idea that a white supremacist patriarchal capitalism has the right to dominate our educational system, and that everything needs to be about them. And so that they tell the story. They constantly tell the story, and we're eliminated from that. The struggle here at Cal State LA for the last couple of months has been one to try to actually advance ethnic studies. So we had an opportunity to talk about making ethnic studies a requirement, to make ethnic studies a requirement. Unfortunately, we got a fortunately and unfortunately, we got a watered-down version of what we were struggling for, but now there's a statewide fight, and I'm really encouraged by the students, including, and this is where there's the intersection and the overlap, Surge and a lot of dreamers are really, really involved in the struggle because we understand just as Angel has found a home in Latino studies and will be graduating, many folks, people of color around the world, understand that it's in ethnic studies that our stories are told. So there's an African proverb, as long as the hunter tells the story, right, the lion always loses, right?
Right.
It's only when the lion tells the story that we begin to get kind of a balanced picture. And so we want to tell our own stories, and that's what happens with ethnic studies. And so we definitely see these struggles as overlapping, and I think that that's kind of the connection that needs to be made. This week is a week of action at all 23 California State University campuses up and down the state to demand ethnic studies not only at Cal State LA, but throughout the system, because it should be something that's required. It's just as necessary as biological sciences, as math, as writing. And so that's what we're struggling for this week.
Right. And you're going to be speaking at Cal State Hayward or East Bay. I'm so used to calling it Hayward. It will always be Hayward to me, Cal State and all. But it's Cal State East Bay, right?
Right. And I'm from Oakland. I feel you on that. So, yeah, I'll be at Cal State East Bay tomorrow at 4, and I'll be at San Jose State on Thursday at 1.
Okay. We appreciate that. I want to open this up and bring in Angel and Leo and see if you can add in some of your thoughts on the importance of ethnic studies and how it even relates to the work that you're doing. You know, Leo, you being a community organizer, Angel, you getting ready to graduate, taking courses in, you know, these departments that find themselves constantly scrutinized and under attack. And what I often find bothersome is that you get people that have this narrow perspective where they say, well, you know, why don't you take some real classes, Leo? Take some real classes like math and science and leave that ethnic studies alone. What sort of job are you going to get in it? So can you speak to that, you know, the importance of that and how it informs your work?
Yeah, I mean, I think ethnic studies to me is tantamount to figuring out who we are and kind of in the empowerment of other oppressed communities who've been, I came up through an Asian American studies background, and without ethnic studies, we wouldn't have learned kind of what it takes kind of, you know, to make America better. And I think it's kind of us, we're living history, and I think like Angel has kind of the same kind of experience, like, you know, going through Latino studies.
Right. And you want to add to that, what you're dealing with?
Yeah, definitely. So actually right now, I'm the president of an ethnic studies organization on campus at San Francisco State. We're actually planning an event about the importance of ethnic studies happening tomorrow. And ethnic studies is more than just learning about your story. It's about empowerment. Before I learned anything about Latino studies, I wasn't sure about what I wanted to do, or even if I could accomplish, you know, a graduation someday from college. And now I feel so powerful, and I want to be able to do that for other students as well, because it's important for people to know that there are other people just like you who fought struggles just like you in the past, and they managed to accomplish things.
Right. And I think a key thing I keep hearing over and over again is empowerment. Melina, let me ask you this. When we have people that are taking these classes and all of a sudden they're able to connect the dots, you know, and go, wow, okay, I know what the Filipino Americans are going through, and that's kind of similar to what the Chicano Americans Chicanos are going through, and hey, that's kind of, you know, in line with what we're dealing with. You know, takes, for example, the type of vagrancy laws that were applied to African Americans that are now being used, you know, right now as we speak in places like Alabama around Dreamers now, you know, 100 years later. Those are important dots to connect, but what do you think happens when people who are marginalized and traditionally been oppressed start to be able to connect these dots and see the commonality in their struggles or their respective struggles?
I mean, I think it really has the potential to be revolutionary. If we think about how ethnic studies started, it started out of struggle, and it was a part of a revolutionary movement. And so I think this is one of the reasons why we see the watering down of ethnic studies or the backing away from ethnic studies. You would think that the Cal States, who were we were the space in which ethnic studies first began in 1968. You would think that they would hold that up. So what is the fear? The fear is that consciousness is awakened, right? And even in terms of immigration, if you think about the new perspectives that come as a result of ethnic studies, ethnic studies is not about just what we teach, it's about how we teach it and the perspective that we teach it from. So we're bombarded with this idea that immigration means that people are coming into a country and taking something that's not theirs. But from an ethnic studies perspective, when we think about questions of immigration, we're challenged to really unpack racism, really unpack global capitalism, and kind of frame things differently, frame things where we kind of raise up this question of as long as capital has the right to roam the globe in search of cheap labor, shouldn't workers then have the right to also search the globe for the best wages, right? And so that's kind of a rethinking and a repositioning. And then what ethnic studies does, it says that if we think that this is true, if we think that these other perspectives have validity, then what are we going to do about it? And I think that's really scary for the people who hold power. But for those of us who want to live in a freer and more just society, it's a necessity. And so that's why it's just as necessary as any other class in a university. In fact, more necessary, especially for students of color and those who want to be conscious and those who want to struggle for justice.
Right. And I would also add just the plain perspective of just knowing history. You would know that people, quote unquote, naturally migrated anyway from place to place, and that these borders prevented what was natural occurrences long before folks showed up, that people would go to, as
Absolutely.
you said, to where the better weather is, where the better, land is. And so those things are very much important, are very important when we talk about just gaining a better understanding of large swaths of our population. We're getting ready to run out of time, and so I want to give people a chance to give some last thoughts on, either topic, the Stand Up and Stand In campaign that you all are talking about and starting for graduation, as well as this battle for ethnic studies. And I'll start off with you, Leo from TIGRA.
Yeah, thanks. I think really where kind of knowledge meets action is kind of in taking it into local campaigns with what we are doing now this May. So standupstandin.com. Feel free to log in if you want to volunteer.
Is there a phone number for that?
It's 510-338-4923.
And how?
Just the same thing. Visit our website, show some support. This is a very important topic that we want to get some more people to follow us and help us out with.
Well, we appreciate that, and Melina will give you the last word.
Yeah, I think that we just need to continue the struggle. The struggle continues, and as long as we struggle, we win. Please follow me on Twitter at DocMellyMel.com and or DocMellyMel at DocMellyMel, right? That's a Twitter handle,
yeah.
Right? And we hope to see you at East Bay at 4 p.m. tomorrow and San Jose State at 1:30 p.m.
Well, there you have it. I want to thank all our guests. I'll remind you that author Greg Grandin will be speaking at Marcus Book 6:30 tonight. The Race Matters conversation with Shanika Hodge is going on at 3752 Enos Avenue in Oakland. That's the OUSD building at Tilden Auditorium. And Leo, I want to thank you for coming in. And also John Rima, big shout out to him for sharing with us his perspectives on socialism, living wages, and all that. We're out for now, folks. Peace, Democracy Now! Coming up next.
This is KPFA, KPFB Berkeley, 88.1 KFCF in Fresno.